found in your word, and no matter where we shall become, and no matter who we shall be, Lord God, we will stand effectively knowing that our lives have been yours, our lives shall continue to be yours, and we strive to be that example in the kingdom of those that have gone before us, so that we can be the example for those that shall follow us. In Jesus' name we pray. Let us all say amen.
Amen.
Come on, let's give God some praise. Glorify His name. We are into the month of July. We're in an outstanding season. And I don't know about you, but the power of God's glory has rained upon us once again. We're just ecstatic about the things that God is doing. We're ecstatic about what God is going to do. Things that we have yet to plan, things we have yet to see. But we know by faith we stand on His word. By faith we stand on His will. We thank God for every individual. We thank every person who came together to donate, to continue to support us as we're striving to complete the renovation project on our building. We thank God for the faithful that are not ashamed to worship anywhere. Come on now. They say, when two or three are gathered in my name, I am in the midst. I thank God for those who are willing to do that in this season and in the journey, and know that no matter what, this is just a moment of time. A bump in the road. How they say, a stop sign on an intersection.
That's right.
And all we're doing is waiting for the other cars to clear out so we can move on and do our next season and next journey. I was amazed by so many people who were so excited about 7/7/17, but they never explained to anybody what it meant. They just going around 7/7/17, supposed to be so prophetic. And I had to ask them, I said, you posting this, but what does it mean? They were like, well, what do you mean? It's 7/7/17. Yeah, okay, what does it mean? So they didn't know. But if you really understand it from the prophetic and the numerical, metaphysical, you understand that 7 is completion. But 17 is victory. So on that day, you were supposed to have complete victory. Twofold. Because it was 7/7/17. So it wasn't just one moment. It's supposed to be completed victory in two areas of your life. But most people didn't understand it, because most people didn't embrace it, because most people didn't reflect on it, because they didn't realize what it really meant. So sometimes people post things without realizing the reality of what they're posting, and when it sinks in, then it's like, oh, that's what it means. Absolutely. So if you were celebrating on 7/7/17, you need to be finding victory, complete victory, in two seasons of your life. There should be complete victory in two areas of your life. Speak on that day, because there's something happening that you're not aware of. But be glorified by God's grace, that because of it, you've already won. If you have your scriptures with you today, I want you to open up with me to the book of John, chapter 11, verse 39. We're going to start at verse 39. And we're doing some things. We're expanding, we're adding. I thank God for my brethren who challenged me to, they've been watching our Periscope broadcast. And the one thing that I found to be beautiful about it is they keep me accountable. So they say, hey, adjust this or work on that. Did you think about this or think about that? And I was like, yeah, we've been working on it. I'm glad someone else has seen it. So we thank God for them. But the one thing is that we've taken that olive branch. We've taken that fleece and struck the water. And now we're stepping out and adding Facebook Live to our broadcasting morning. So in order for those who are not able to connect with us via Periscope, can now connect with us via Facebook Live. But that doesn't mean, if you are connecting by Periscope, doesn't mean that you stop. And even our internet radio family, we thank God for all of you, all of those who are out there reaching out and supporting the work we're doing. We thank God for you. Again, if you have your scripture with you this morning, I'm asking that you open up to John chapter 11, verse 39, and it reads as such. Jesus said, "Take away the stone." Martha, the sister of him who was dead, said to him, "Lord, by this time there is a stench, for he has been dead for days." Jesus said to her, "Did I not say to you that if you would believe, you would see the glory of God?" Then they took away the stone from the place where the dead man was lying, and Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. And I know that you always hear me, but because of the people who are standing by, I said this, that they may believe that you sent me." I'm going to stop right there. Nope, I'm going to go. Verse 43 says, "Now when he had said these things, he cried with a loud voice, 'Lazarus, come forth.'" There's certain things that happen in this that I want to share, but for those that like a subject matter or title, look at your neighbor and tell them, remove the stone.
Remove the stone.
Remove the stone. The reason I'm saying is because in this small portion of activity that Christ encountered, he did some things that were very important in the journey that we walk in. We've heard the story of Lazarus being raised from the dead, and we've heard it spoken on all aspects and all elements of it. I heard it so much because I always recognize that when we hear about it, we hear about how Mary and Martha confronted Christ and how Jesus wept and how he said, "Loose that man and let him go," and how Lazarus came out from the grave. But there's a couple of things there's one thing that I rarely hear anybody speak about. And that's about what he says here in verse 39. Now, honestly, the second half of verse 39 they always talk about because, that sounds a defeated mindset. Because he said to them, "Take away the stone," but then it goes on and says, "And Martha, the sister of him who was dead to him, said, 'Lord, by this time there is a stench, for he's been dead 4 days.'" So, the expositors that I've ever heard preaching on this always talked about the stench. They always focused on the stench. They always focused on the fact that this was the fourth day of death, fourth day in the tomb, and they always expound on that because they want to bring greater significance to the miracle that is about to happen. See, you must understand that by tradition, that if a person is in this tomb in the first 3 days and suddenly it rises, then they would consider that there might have been a misdiagnosis or something along those lines. They would never consider it to be something, or they wouldn't even consider that he was actually dead. It might have been in a coma with something. They could never, they could pretty much talk it away or disprove it. But if someone is risen from the grave on day 4, the only way that this could ever possibly happen in the mindsets of the people is by the hand of God. The only way for this to ever occur is that God would have had to have done this, and therefore this would identify it as a miracle. So we see that 3 days he's verified as dead. But Lazarus was raised on the 4th day. And we know that it was the 4th day, not only by measurement of time, but by the stench. Mm-hmm. You understand? We know that the stench was a clear indicator that the death was clear and death was viable and death was final. We understand that because this is that time of decomposition. So at that point, he did. Mm-hmm. Nothing's working. All vital organs have shut down. They are starting to decompose. So there's no way he could possibly come back from this. Mm-hmm. Tell somebody, no way.
No way.
But what strikes me here is not that Lazarus is dead, nor even the stench that they are smelling, but what Jesus says to begin this process of resurrection. See, I could care less that the man smelled bad. Mm-hmm. I could care less that he had been in the grave 4 days. Because before any of this was even recognized, he said something that triggered the change. It's not what he said when he says, "Where did they lay him?" He knew where they laid him. Mm-hmm. It is what he says here in the clear instruction where he says, take away the stone. You see, I need you to understand that nothing God does will happen until we can move what is between God and us. Nothing could effectively move in our lives until we can find the wherewithal to remove that hindrance between us and God. What we see here is Christ said to someone, take away the stone. He didn't tell Lazarus was dead. I'm certain he didn't say Mary and Martha because they didn't have the power to remove it. So he gave the indication to someone to remove something so he could do something for someone else. So for those that, we got people, again, y'all got to work with me here. I'm multitasking. Tell somebody I'm multitasking.
I'm multitasking.
So we realize that at the end of the day, one thing has happened. The stone itself is important. Why? Because the stone is prevention. The stone is a barrier between what has died and what is still living. Whoa, watch this. Inside the tomb lies Lazarus, who they have identified as being dead. Outside the tomb are the mourners of Lazarus, who have accepted his demise. Between them is a stone that is a determiner of what is going on, but also prevents them of knowing what is happening. So, see, again, there is something, tell somebody there's something important about the stone.
There's something important about the stone.
For one, the stone is a covering of the entrance to the tomb. It is considered to seal the entranceway in order that no one can enter in, and truth be told, no one can get out. Amen. So therefore, once the stone is placed over the door, that is what we call the finality of life. But unlike today, where we bury people 6 feet in the ground, at least, in the days of Jesus, they would place the dead in tombs, wrapped in burial clothing, and then have a stone placed over the entranceway. So when I looked at this, I realized that the stone is prevention. And it's prevention because it prevents access to you and access to your situation. Wait a minute. Yes, I placed you in the tomb. No, actually, I didn't. You went on your own. But I'll leave that alone. See, the stone is the lid on the jar of secrets. The door to that closet of secrets. The gate between who people see you as and who you truly are. The stone protects the innermost parts of you. Those sensitive and vulnerable parts that if anyone had access to could cause great harm to who you are. In the case of the dead, someone must come and place the stone over the door because the dead can't do anything but lay there. But since we are not physically dead, we serve as both the deceased and the pallbearer in our own lives. We place the stone over the best of us because we don't want anyone to get access, and yet we don't even realize that the stone we've placed over our secret is the same stone that prevents our healing. In today's terms, we call the stone walls, but in the days of Jesus, it was just simply a stone. Tell somebody, move the stone. See, I need you to understand. See, how many times have you placed the stone between what was best for you and your fears? How many times have you willingly moved a stone over your life, preventing the good things to happen? This happens because we are afraid to allow anyone to get so close to us that they could actually create some change in us. But this is not the plan of God. God sends people into our lives to help us by removing the stones to our tombs and giving us a chance to live again. You see, God sends us people. Tell somebody, God sends us people.
God sends us people.
Like he sent Jesus to Martha and Mary, who can remove the stones that is preventing us receiving and healing that we need and the miracle we deserve. Again, God sends us people just like Christ was sent to Martha and Mary, who can remove the stone that is preventing us from receiving the healing we need and the miracle we deserve. Mm-hmm. This is why Jesus told them to remove the stone, you see. He knew that there were people standing there strong enough to remove the one thing that was preventing Lazarus from living again. Oh God. See, although you may see a crowd at the place of your demise, don't be confused by who is there. See, there's two types of people in the crowd pattern. Some are there to make sure you are done with, while there are others there who are there to remove the stone. See, you have certain people in your circle who just need to see you die. But they can't touch you because in that same circle are people who believe in your life. So the problem is you're not doing any fighting at all, but there's confusion around you because those that want to see you buried are getting the shovel taken out of their hands from people who are trying to give you life. You're trying to figure out why things don't make any god-awful sense. It's because you got people there who just want to make sure you dead and stinking, and there's others trying to Febreze you. There's some who's trying to slit your throat, and there's somebody else trying to patch you up. There's somebody trying to drive over you, and somebody else trying to drive to you. You got two types fighting in your circle, and Jesus walks in the midst and says, enough with the foolishness, remove the stone.
Yes.
We don't have time for the games anymore.
Right.
I know you want to see them dead, but they are here because I have come. And I have come so they may have life, and life more abundant. See, the problem was, you could touch them when they didn't know me. But now that they know me, I'm giving them something you can't take from them. You can have a shovel or a plow and dig the deepest hole you want. But I have come so they may have life, and life more abundant. So until they run out of life, you don't have nothing to bury. So the problem here is, we don't recognize that there's abundant life in our next season because we're still stuck in the tomb because of the stone. Remember I said prevention. So the stone is preventing us from even seeing the light of day. The stone is preventing us from seeing an opportunity that's been there all along. The stone is preventing us from having a chance that's there. The stone is preventing us from moving the I am from possible. Y'all missed that. The stone is preventing us from seeing the impossible become possible. Hey. So we need to realize that Jesus told them to remove the stones. He knows that there's people in the crowd waiting to remove the stone. But watch this. They're just simply waiting for permission. But watch this. Here's the problem. We think the permission comes from God. But God didn't put us in the tomb. He said, ask and it shall be given. Seek and ye shall knock. See, he didn't put us in the tomb. He didn't put the stone in front of us. So why are we waiting for him to give them permission to move it? Watch this. Can I go deeper? Y'all all right? Can I go deeper?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, watch this. Permission didn't just come from heaven. It came from Mary and Martha.
Okay. Okay.
See,
Okay.
as soon as they sent for Jesus, it was them saying that they needed and they wanted the stone to be removed.
Okay.
They were tired of seeing their brother in the predicament he was in. And they knew he was seeking God for help. He got it. They were tired of seeing their brother in the predicament he was in. They knew he was seeking God for help. Therefore, they spoke up for him. So you got to understand, Lazarus was dead. Wrapped up in bed from head to toe. He couldn't say a word. So in that situation where he couldn't function because he was dead, somebody had to speak up for him. He couldn't ask for the stone to be removed because nothing was living in his life. He had given up. He lost all hope. He had accepted the diagnosis. He just quit. He said, the drugs got me. The alcohol that took over. Nobody will love me again. He accepted his circumstances. But it took someone on the outside that said, we're not playing that. If you don't ask for a change, I'll ask for you. See, some of the changes that we happen in our lives doesn't happen because of our own breath. It happens because someone else had the wherewithal to say, it's time to make a move. Oh, my. So, they were tired of seeing their brother in the predicament he was in. They knew he was seeking God for help. So they spoke up for him. They sent for Jesus to heal Lazarus before he died. And when Jesus didn't show up before his death, watch this, they still expected for him to follow through. Lazarus is dead. I'm still in the scriptures. Lazarus is dead, Kim. But when Jesus showed up, Martha said, had you had shown up on time, he'd still be alive. In other words, you late, but you still got work to do. Mary said, but Jesus, because he cried, he wept, because they reached his compassion, because they knew even though he wasn't there when they needed him, when he showed up, still do the job. See, Martha was cocky and arrogant as she could be. She said, I know you the Son of Man and the Son of God, but I asked you to do, so she had to have been a sister. I can imagine her coming out that kitchen smelling like fried chicken and cornbread and sitting there saying, hey, Jesus, I needed you here yesterday, not today. What I need you to do now is fix the situation. I don't know what you got to do, if you got to go up to heaven and talk to somebody or come back down. What I need you to do is to fix the situation. Because you are the Son of God. You walked on water and I've seen you turn water to wine. So if you can change the water situation, you surely can change mine. Now I don't need to be worried about it. You've heard my prayers because I'm talking to you face to face. So if I'm talking to you face to face, you acknowledge that I believe in you. So I'm going to need you to fix this. See, that's the problem. We don't have the authority to look to God and say, God, you said this. Did he not say, test me and see if I won't open up the gates of heaven and pour you out a blessing? We're afraid to test him and say, listen, I asked you beforehand to fix this and it didn't get fixed. Now it's worse, but I'm still asking you to fix this.
Yes.
Oh, now, see, y'all got to understand something. You don't stop at a pause.
That's right.
Oh. You don't stop at a pause. You keep moving until there's a shift in your life. What they say last week, 17, complete victory. See, don't stop at 6. Uh-oh. Matter of fact, watch this. Those that stopped at 17 never understood what 17 was. But I'll leave that alone.
That's right.
I'm only going to share that when we offline. That's only for the gifted. How he say, I reveal the secrets to some.
That's right.
So if you weren't here, you won't understand what we're talking about. So the thing about it is, oh God, hey God. So I'm saying this because we must learn not to give up on Jesus just because we didn't get the results we were seeking in the time we were asking for it. We must learn to stay faithful even after it looks like the situation is dead. Watch this. Nothing is dead. It's just a stone between you and your victory. Tell your neighbor, move the stone.
Move the stone.
See, I need y'all to understand something here. I need y'all to realize that he says something here in this passage. He says in verse 39, take away stone. Martha comes up and says, but Lord, by this time, the stench has been there for 4 days. Just because the stench is there don't mean that it's over with.
That's right.
So you have to realize something, people of God, that the stone is not just a prevention, it's separation. The stone is not just prevention, it's a separation. Watch this. The stone not only prevented anyone from getting too close to Lazarus, it also separated Lazarus from that which was still trying to kill him. Okay? It separated him not only from that was trying to kill him, but that which needed to heal him. Remember, I said it was 2 people in the crowd. So Lazarus found himself in a conundrum in the tomb. If he was alive in the tomb at the moment, he knew coming out would mean that he would have to battle. He'd have to fight those trying to kill him just so he could get to those that have opportunities. Uh-oh. You ever found yourself wanting to break free of something that you knew you shouldn't have been in the first place? But every time you try to get to the next one, something happens. I was laughing this morning because every time I set the system up, and last week it didn't work. I got up the next day on Monday and I pressed the button and it worked. I said, well, I'm going to leave it on. I'm going to run my everything and get it done. And every day, even yesterday, I walked by and it's on. I pushed the button this morning. It ain't worked. I said, oh, okay. They got jokes. Because no matter what, something is going to try to stop. But nothing's going to end up winning. Something's going to try to stop, but nothing's going to end up winning. So what we have to realize is, the stone, first of all, is prevention. It prevents you from getting to where you need to be, but it also prevents them from trying to get to you. But it is also separation. Because not only do you need some kind of prevention in your life, you need to separate yourself from some things and some people. You can't just keep connecting yourself with people who have nothing but ill for you. So again, when we close ourselves off from the world by living in a tomb, we oftentimes create an environment where nothing grows. Separation removes what is needed for our increase, such as oxygen for growth. We can't breathe if there's no air to breathe. So when you separate yourself from those things that need you to grow, you are endorsing death and validating your demise. When you close it off and seal yourself in, you're saying that there is no chance for a different. Doesn't say difference, a different. There's no chance for something new. There's no chance for a next. Everything that you've done You saying I'm already finished. There's nothing more I can do. Just bury me and call it a day. Move on with your life. I'll be okay. You keep living. I'll be fine. Don't worry about me. I'll be all right. And then get mad when people move on. The problem is people will only stay at the gravesite but so long.
That's right.
At the point that they feel that it's okay to leave, they leave. And they'll come visit once a year on a birthday. So don't get mad if you only see them on your birthday. You told them you was okay. Don't worry about my demise. You separated yourself from those that was trying to help you because you didn't like the fact that they had to wrap you up to keep you still.
Yes.
I don't know who that was for. Y'all keep that one. So, but this is when Jesus enters the picture. He waits until we are convinced that we have died to whatever it is that is separating us from life. And then he calls us back to life. See, Jesus didn't show up on the first day because Lazarus still had a chance to change his mind.
Okay.
He didn't show up on the second day because that would give death a moment to reconsider as to whether this was the right thing to do. He didn't show up on the third day because then Mary and Martha wouldn't have a reason to keep praying. So he had to show up on the fourth day after everything was said and done. Everyone's minds was clear. And then he said, oh, you thought it was over. It wasn't over, nor is it finished, because he still has some life to live. Remove the stone.
Yes.
Jesus showed up on the fourth day, the one day that could change circumstances through a miracle. So I need you to know something this morning, people of God. Some of you are still in your third day and about to give up and start moving the stone further across the door. But God says, if you kill it, I'll rise you again. And that means you got to let go of who you were. Leave it in the tomb. And then when it's time, meaning you have no ability or functional mindset to change it, God makes a change. Thing about it is this. We must remember this, that resurrection doesn't return us to the life that we lived or the life that killed us. In fact, it places us into a life where we should live. Watch this. Can I mess your mind up? Well, not yours. You already understand. Here's the thing. Someone is a victim of a tragedy, an accident. Let's say a traffic accident. They're on the brink of death at the place of the accident. But they hear the sounds of the helicopter, the medevac, that they whisked them to shock trauma, still on the brink of death. And they find themselves revived in shock trauma and restored in shock trauma. See, they carried them in half dead, but they walked out alive. But the thing you must realize is they didn't revive them at the traffic site or the tragedy. They revived them at the trauma.
My God.
They didn't revive them at the tragedy. They revived them at the trauma. Because the shock of what they went through hadn't set in yet. But shock trauma says you're going to experience and recognize what you just went through, because once you embrace what killed you, now you can go through the trauma of healing from it and living again. Good God. Remember, restoration, resurrection is the restoration of one's back to life. It doesn't mean placing that person right back into what killed them. Only people that like what they were into keep going back into what killed them. So I'm just saying that God has to separate you from what has killed you before he can resurrect you. Oh, let me say it again. God has to separate you from what killed you. See, let me say it this way. I'm not trying to dwell on death. I'm trying to help you understand this. Because here's the thing. When you die, there's a time between death and burial. And they don't bury you where you died.
That's right.
They find a place to bury you that people can come to and never ever know how you died. Just know that you did. Oh, God. They take them to the cemetery. But here's the thing. You don't walk into the cemetery if you live in there. They bring you in. People who happy that you gone. People who don't know how to function that now you gone. People that don't know what to do either way. All in the same place at the same time, hiding their agendas. And you're laying there looking up like, all it took was one of you to say enough to God to cause him to open up the grave so I can live again. And not one of you are willing to do it. Some of you have been experiencing that living in your very houses right now. Saying, all I need is just one righteous person to pray my healing. Because I feel that my prayer is not getting through. All I need is just one person to hear God enough to do something more for me. I'm not being selfish, God. I just need a Mary and a Martha in my life. I've done all I can, but my hands are tied. Y'all don't understand. I've tried to do everything I can, but my voice ain't being heard. I can't even move. I'm so paralyzed in my distress. And I just need a Mary or a Martha who got a greater connection to you. It's not that I'm not bad. It's just they pray more. It's not that I'm a sinner in that manifestation. It's just that they kind of got a little more oil than me. So if I can get a Mary or a Martha in my life just to pray enough for me, because it's something about knowing that I can live again if I can find the voice that would speak on my behalf when I can't speak for myself. But it's my fault. Because when I didn't want to help, I separated myself from the world.
My God.
And now when I need to help, they can't hear me because knocking on the stone is just like talking to a deaf man. You don't hear someone knocking on stone. So I can't knock on it. I can't knock it. I need God to move it. There's situations in your life that you can't push against any longer. You need someone on the outside to remove so you can get from the inside. Oh, thank you, God. Watch this, watch this. I was stopped there by my father's house yesterday to help him do something. And I'm in the backyard, and he's got a back door right there. That, I mean, even when I was living there, we ain't used that door. So I'm sitting on this step right at the door, and I'm hearing all this noise, but I'm like, what is going on? And it was him trying to open the door. And I'm like, why is he trying to open the door? And he struggled with it, but he got the door open. But there was still the metal screen, which is heavy. And watch this, he unlocked it. I watched the lock turn. But when he went to open the lever, it wouldn't move. See, the door was unlocked, but he still didn't have access. And he was trying, and it would not respond. But something said to me, try the lever on your side. As soon as I turned the lever on my side, the door came open.
My God.
See, you've been standing at your door trying to get in. It's been unlocked for you. You've done everything you're supposed to. You've turned the handle and it's moved. But the door still won't move and won't open. And you're wondering, why won't the door open? God, I've done all you said to do. The problem is, it's not for you to open it. It's for the other person on the other side to do their job, to just turn the handle so that the door could be opened from their end. See, God has already given up the keys to the kingdom. He's released and they're giving giving you the access. But somebody is holding up your blessing because they don't realize that they have the power to let you in. Good God Almighty. They just don't realize that they have the authority to help you out.
My God.
See, Christ told them to remove the stone. He didn't tell Lazarus because Lazarus couldn't help himself out of the tomb. Somebody had to believe enough in Jesus to know that they could move the stone. But because they don't believe, you stuck. But because they don't believe, you stuck. Because what you didn't realize was your tomb is full of dead people. People that don't believe the God you serve. But nobody put you there. You hobbled yourself in. And then the people that was mad at you because you wouldn't do what they wanted you to do, rolled the stone. How they say you played yourself. Now you stuck in there and you like, what is that smell? It ain't you because you ain't dead yet. But the people around you is dying and they like, oh, so now you want to be a part of us. I'm sorry. And the only reason you got there was because of the stone. And I'm not talking about the one in front of the door. We had to realize that the stone was prevention and separation. We said that, right? But the stone is also a distraction that never kills you, but keeps you dead. Oh, God. It is a stone that is a distraction that doesn't kill you, but it keeps you dead. See, the first thing I want you to think about when it comes down to the stone is this. Stones are distractions. Stones are often thrown in an attempt to harm you. And if you throw enough of them, you will eventually take someone's life. But think of this. In theory, one stone cannot kill you. Only someone with great accuracy and skill can kill you with a single stone. There's only one David that I know of. Okay. Therefore, why do you change every time someone throws a stone at you? How they say sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Why do we consider the words greater than the stones? See, I see the looks. Watch this. See, y'all wonder where I'm going at. I'm going somewhere. Trust me. See, here's the thing. The reason I say is because stones are nothing more than accusations and rumors. Lies that people created in their own way of thinking because they want to believe it when it's not even true.
Yes.
Their own reality.
Yes.
Their assumptions.
Yes.
But stones are used by people who think that these very same stones cannot be thrown back at them.
Yes.
And when they do, they act like a victim.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, you threw that stone at me? Well, I'm just giving back what you sent my way.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
See, the thing about stones is this. Stones are thrown often. Hello. But only a few ever hit the mark. And yet we will stop everything for a few thrown stones. They ain't even nowhere near where you are. And you sitting there like they like, come on, stop. They threw stone across the yard. Nowhere near you. You sitting there like, come on, man, stop playing. Now you start changing how you look and live because you know they can pick up stones and threaten to throw them.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the thing is, the stone has no power. It'll hurt, but it can't kill you. Nobody's got that accuracy. If they killed you, it was accidental. So, but it's a distraction because now it's got our attention and causes us to move around, which gives the stones power because even the ones that never reach their mark have caused you to believe that they can cause some damage.
Mm-hmm.
Even these, and these are small stones at that, pebbles and such, used to direct you towards a place of hiding, the tomb. You want to avoid the stones so much that you'll go into the tomb so that you don't have to feel the stones anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But the tomb is the last place you want to be because the enemy wasn't trying to hurt you with the stones. They wanted to run you into a place where it can separate you from the life you live in. So they throwing stones, you run into the tomb to avoid the stones, and the biggest stone of them all, they rolled in front of the door.
Mm-hmm.
Tell somebody it's a trap.
That's a trap.
Good God. Now you inside like, I can't move.
Exactly.
And I'm in here because of a few pebbles. What was I thinking? Because we don't want pain at all. But pain is a part of the process. I'm not going to go there. I'm going to leave that alone. See, the thing about it is if the enemies can get you to hide and run from your purpose, they win. If they can get you to run into a tomb, they can pull a stone over the door. And at that point, you can't get out and no one can get in. And watch this. In most cases, no one even knows you're in the tomb because they never followed the trail of rocks.
Wow. My God.
So you stuck in a hard place. No one knows your misery, that you suffering from all the stones that's been thrown.
Mm-hmm.
Because no one wants to listen to what's being said. Because to them, they're just stones. But you've made the stones into mountains. And they've caused you to get into a tomb. And when you got there, you say, "Ooh, I'm safe." But suddenly, your light and place is now dark. Because the people that were throwing the stones wanted to kill you in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So they rolled the stone behind you and moved the pebbles that they had been throwing so nobody even knows you there. See, I need you to understand something. I need you to understand something. I need you to understand. Our strength doesn't lie in hiding. It rests in the ability to stand up to the rocks and say, "Remove the stones." Here's the thing. Jesus called for the stone to be removed because he knew a miracle was happening, but also to quiet the voices. Because Martha and Mary were now doubting what he could do. They were doubting him. But the passage says this. In verse 40, he says, "Did I not say to you that if you would believe, you would see the glory of God?" Mm-hmm. See, the problem is this. They believe that God can do something. But at the very moment that he's doing it, now they're like, "Wait a minute, man, I don't want him in this condition. I want him better than when he went in." Now, here's the thing. They wanted change in his life. But they had already assumed that if he resurrected them, they would be the walking dead. They would look miserable, look decomposed and things. They didn't have enough faith to believe that if God could resurrect, God could restore. Mm-hmm. Okay, y'all understand it because it's so minute of a doubt that it causes a great divide. So the thing was, they said, "God, Jesus, I need you to resurrect and bring my brother back to life." But wait a minute. I mean, don't open this. He dead now. But I'm still here. But he's dead now. But I'm here. But he's dead now. And he said, "No, you don't understand. But I'm here." And she said, "No, you don't understand. He's dead now." So what's happened is they still want him to do what he was doing, but they have already accepted his demise. Mm-hmm. So now they're getting in the way of God doing something because their mindset is, I really miss him, but he's not coming back from this. This is where the miracle comes. Because in those moments when they realized, no, he couldn't come back from this, Jesus says, "Oh, yes, he can." Then somebody moved his stone. Looks at him and he says to him, he says, but I told you that if you believe, you're going to see something. So what's the problem? All I need you to do is to believe. I don't need you to talk about it. I don't need you to doubt. I don't need you to start calling 977, call me now. I need you to just believe. Because if you believe long enough, I'm going to change something in your life. If you believe long enough, I'm going to submit a miracle to you. If you believe long enough, something's going to happen. You can't find awesome until you're awestruck. Uh-oh. So the thing about it is, Jesus looked right at the stone thrower and made it clear. If you had faith all along, then you wouldn't be here still throwing stones of doubt. See, first they were praying, now they're doubting. So they picked up stones themselves. Uh-oh. I had to walk there. Sometimes you need to melt. Sometimes you got to get to a point of saying to people that throwing those stones, enough is enough. Matter of fact, can I be real? Can I be real? Can I be real? Sometimes you need to just mail the stone back. Put it in a box.
Lord Jesus.
Tape it up. Say, dear stone owner, I would like to return your stone to you. Although it would have been easier and probably just to return it in the same manner in which it was sent, I'm certain your glass house could not handle the damage. Therefore, I will politely place it in the box, mark it fragile, and return to sender, because your stones can't do nothing to me but litter my front lawn. I just want you to realize that I appreciate the stones. Matter of fact, I took some of it and made a gravel pathway. But the ones I could not use, I felt the need that you might need them more than me. Because I'm imagining that your front lawn is a little empty. Because you're so busy throwing stones, how is your foundation of your house able to stand? You're so busy throwing bricks that I'm thinking that your porch has nothing to hold it up. You're so busy throwing stuff my direction. I'm just wondering how in heavens would anything in your life live. So let me return your stones to you. And I'm hoping that you realize that if I did throw them back at you in the manner that you threw them at me, certain things in your life would break. So I don't want things to be revealed in your life as much as you was trying to reveal them in mine. But did you not notice that every stone you threw hit a brick wall? Because you were throwing stones at a tomb. But even Christ wasn't there after he got up. So I just happened to stop by to where I used to be and noticed there was still some stones left from your inability to win. And I felt the need to just pick them up and return the sender. Tell somebody, return the sender.
Return the sender.
Because you need to realize that the stones are nothing but a distraction. The first thing Jesus instructed the people to do was remove the stone. It was a doorway to where Lazarus was buried. It prevented the people on the outside from seeing what was going on the inside. It was the stone even reduced the scent of death that was emanating from the tomb. Therefore, they couldn't be certain if he was really dead or not. See, the thing about it is, the tomb is not always a bad place. Sometimes you just got to get in there long enough to get your secrets out. And you don't need other people around to see it. So the stone prevented light from entering that darkened place. The stone was there to restrict access to anyone who wasn't finished with the dead. Matter of fact, the stone was both prevention and separation and a distraction. But when Jesus told them to remove it, he's telling them to remove the one thing that is preventing Lazarus from living again. It wasn't other people. It wasn't circumstances that was preventing him from living again. It was the one thing that he had no longer had power over or the strength to move. It's that one thing that has defeated him, that one thing that he wished he could change, that one thing that he wished he could fix, that one thing that he wished he could go back and do again, but it's just lingering over his life, and it is intricately damaging everything around him, and his predicament has gotten worse, and now he's got to a point he's like, this thing is going to kill me. So and God says, stop fighting it, let it die. But God, how do I let it die? He says, stop fighting it so you can die. But I don't want to die. If you don't die, you won't live.
That's right.
My God.
He that loves his life will lose everything. That he that hates his life will live everlasting. So I need you to die to this situation, because once it's dead, it can't live again. Watch this. A virus will no longer dwell in a body that no longer functions. So sometimes they kill the person long enough for the virus to die, and then they bring them back to life. Am I right? So God is saying, just because you died don't mean it's over. I'm just trying to get what's contaminating you out so I can give you a life to live again. I'm not trying to stop you from living. I'm trying to help you to live. But in order for me to do that, I need to remove the stone. And the only reason I'm removing the stone is because everyone is convinced that you're dead. Once they're convinced that you're done, they won't bother you anymore. Who throws stones at a grave? No one. So when they leave and they've gone on, then God says, okay, the coast is clear. Now you can live again. And you don't have to worry about them because they're not coming back here. To them, you're dead. And watch this. But one day, in your resurrected mind and resurrected life, those that try to kill you be looking up on TV and see you standing there in a place of authority, a place of recognition and celebration that they never expected to happen because they were so convinced you were dead. But the problem was they only killed who you were. And that's when you need to say, and I thank you for all those who sent me stones. Because your stones I built an altar to God with. Your stones I built a temple to praise the Lord. Your stones I built a sanctuary with, and I worship him in the stones. And because of such, now I'm living effectively, because what you were saying about me did nothing but carpet the walls. So we have to realize that that stone that's between him and his new life, and is too big for him to move by himself. But the thing is, Jesus gave Lazarus just enough to make the change in his life. He gave access to the light that Lazarus thought was gone. Jesus had the people to remove the stone. And they did. But it would be Lazarus who would have to decide to come out. Look at what it says. Look at what it says. He says in the last verse, when Jesus had said these things, he cried with a loud voice, Lazarus, come forth. He didn't even want the people standing at the doorway and be surprised to see Lazarus standing there when they moved the stone. Because you got to watch this, y'all ready? There's two things he had to do. First, he had to speak to the environment. Three things. Speak to the environment. Remove the stones. Speak to the situation. God, thank you for speaking through me in this moment so the people can believe. And then he speaks to the one in the situation, which is a miracle. Lazarus, come forth. So you're still in the process. If he hasn't spoken to your situation yet, how do you expect anything else to happen?
Right.
Like I said, he spoke to the situation and removed the stone. He thanked God for allowing the people to see what was about to happen. And then he spoke to Lazarus to come forth. But Lazarus would only come forth if he had changed his mind.
Yeah.
The only person that could ever rise again is someone who has decided to no longer live in death. He had to change his mind about living and say, I don't want to die anymore, I want to live again. And because of such, he's rising up and living again. And now because he's living again, he's living in resurrected life. So two things happen. Lazarus got his life back because he wanted his life back. And Jesus used this resurrection as the greatest miracle ever to happen in Scripture. And all we think about is the stench. But if you realize that God is sending people to your life as we speak to move the stone that you can't move, so that you can come out of your situation, your fears and things. See, the thing about it is you're afraid to love again. So God is sending people to remove the stone. I didn't say no 6 foot 6 pack. I said God is causing people to remove the stones so that you can come out of that unloved place and be in a place where you can experience love again. So it doesn't mean you're going to walk out of the tomb and find love. Oh, I fell in love. No, that ain't what that means. What it means is you're giving access to that one place in your life that you never thought would have access again. You broke as a joke. But God is causing people to remove the stone so you can deal with your finances and get into a place where you can grow and live instead of living check by check. Even if it's saying I'm living every other check. That's a greater move than living check by check. Nobody likes me. I have no friends. God's going to cause people to come and remove the stones so people can be friends to you. But it means that you have to step out and be friendly.
Yes.
You understand what's happening? God is moving the stones, but he's not moving it by his own hand. He's causing people to move it because you have to see people doing something in your life to encourage you to keep going. We call them spotters in the gym. Somebody that's going to help you handle the weight of what you're into, but also won't stop you, won't allow you to stop at your comfortable place, but say, no, you got more in you. That's somebody that removed the stone. Because they saying to you, you got more in you. They saying you got more power in you, you got more strength in you. And then they watch it, they say, come on, you got one more. And you keep doing it. And then if you listen, they say, okay, give me one more. Y'all got to understand, Christ is not in the first few. He's at that point where he says, there's more that I require of thee. But before he even asks that of you, he's got to get you to have enough confidence to know that you can lift it in the first place. So what happens is that as you're moving through your process and you're trying to move up and move out, you've already got enough confidence in you to say, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And then he says, oh, by the way, see, that's the thing. Lazarus had to realize this before Christ could say, come out. Lazarus had to accept that he wasn't just some decomposing carcass or corpse. He had to realize he was a life and someone that had abundant life before Christ could say, come out. You will never reach your potential until you realize you have the potential so that God can say, now come and reach your potential. Tell somebody, move the stone. Don't just move the stone, get it out the way completely. This is your season. This is your time to realize that the stone is being moved from your tomb. That one place that's been holding you back and hindering you from reaching your higher heights. God is removing the stone. That very moment in your life when you thought you couldn't do another thing, God is removing that stone. When you're sitting there trying to rob Peter to pay Paul and then cut Paul's throat to pay John, God is removing that stone. When you're sitting there watching your friends getting married around you and you sit there saying, I'm going to be an old spinster, God is removing that stone. When you're sitting there watching your friends buy houses and you still trying to rent a building, God is going to remove those stones because there's something in the way between where you should be and where you are. I need 3 or 4 people to give God a Holy Ghost praise to acknowledge that you know that God is removing the stone.
Yes, he is. Yes.
Thank you, God.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Give him glory.
Yes, Lord.
Lift him up. Magnify him.
Yes, Lord. Thank you.
Don't just sit
Thank
still.
you.
Let God know that you need him to remove the stone.
Yes, Lord.
Tell your neighbor to remove the stones.
Remove the stone.
Tell another neighbor to remove the stones.
Remove the stone.
Now find it in your very being with all the utmost confidence and conviction and say, God, I need you to remove the stone.
God,
I need you to remove the stone.
Remove it now in the name of
Remove it
Jesus.
now, Lord. Yes, Lord. Yes.
Remove the stones. Remove the stones. It is time
Yeah.
to remove the stones.
Yes, it is.
Everybody standing on your feet.